Hey everyone, it's Chloe. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be going over the history of Gucci. So by the end of the video, I hope you walk away with learning a little more about Gucci. It's a very it brand right now, and be able to tell some friends and family some cool fun facts. So let's get started, and don't forget to subscribe. So going back to the very beginning, Guccio Gucci was born in 1881 to an Italian leather goods maker. And as he grew up and got a little older, he moved to London for a job as a porter at the Savoy Hotel. And that's really when his intrigue started with glamorous, different luggage items, because he saw people from all over the world come to the hotel with these suitcases that he'd never seen before. They were just so glamorous and luxury. So that's when his love for that first started. And then he moved back to Florence and ended up working at Franzi, which is a suitcase maker in Florence, Italy. So he went there and he kind of learned from the company a bit more. And then not long after, he went on to start his own company. So then in 1921, Guccio Gucci went off and created his own leather goods company, and he opened a store, and he focused primarily on creating leather goods for horseback riders, so saddles and other accessories for them. And he used only the finest Italian leather. So that's how he got started, really, which is cool. I didn't know that fact before. And that's how he got into the business. So even today, you can see some of the equestrian flair influence in some of Gucci's modern pieces today. So the horse bit detail and the red and green woven stripe, those are from back in the day when he first started with horseback riding and creating saddles. So in 1938, Guccio enlisted his three sons, Aldo, Vasco, and Rodolfo, to join the business, and tasked them with expanding the brand and opening up their first store in Rome. And then later on, eventually, they expanded to Milan, Italy as well. So leather was really hard to come by in the 1930s due to sanctions on Italy because of the war. So that's really what made Gucci have to turn to alternative textiles to see what else he could create. So that's actually how he created one of his signature bags with this hemp fabric that we all know today, the signature pattern of the interlocking diamonds that are dark brown woven onto the hemp fabric, actually. So the iconic bamboo bag from Gucci was also created under similar circumstances in 1947. So Gucci, they were trying to find some alternative textiles to use and materials because it was really hard to come by the materials that they usually used because it was the end of World War II. So it was difficult to find what they usually used with the leathers and such. So that's what made them decide to go with Japanese bamboo, and they realized they could use it as unique bag handles. So that's how that bag came about, and it's just very iconic, something that you think of when you think of Gucci. So the Gucci Golden Era, this is what started in 1953. And so just 15 days after the first Gucci store in Manhattan, New York opened, Guccio Gucci unfortunately passed away, and he left his business to his three sons to run. So the decade that followed 1953 is known as the Gucci Golden Era, and this is thanks to celebrities that started sporting Gucci on their arm. So some of the celebrities were Grace Kelly, Jackie Kennedy, Peter Sellers, Elizabeth Taylor. So these big celebrities, big names, really influenced others as well. So around this time, Grace Kelly stopped into a Gucci store to pick up a bamboo Gucci bag, one of those signatures we talked about. And as a thank you and his gratitude, Rodolfo enlisted an Italian artist to create a scarf dedicated to Grace Kelly. And this is known as the Flora scarf, and it's still around today. This scarf has 43 different types of plants, insects, and flowers on the scarf and with 37 different colors. So it's very colorful, there's a lot going on, and yeah, that was dedicated to Grace Kelly. And the logo of interlocking G's, the signature one that we still see today, was created around the same time as a homage to Guccio Gucci, the founder. So in the 70s, Gucci looked to the east, putting down some roots in Tokyo and then Hong Kong as well. But the golden era of Gucci seemed to be over. Even though it was successful and it debuted its first men's ready-to-wear collection, the Gucci brothers just kept on fighting, and there was just a lot of family drama as well, with Rodolfo ousting his uncle Aldo from the business and bringing it almost to bankruptcy. So it was a little rocky in the 70s. So in 1989, it was time to revive Gucci. So what happened was Dawn Mello, the president of Bergdorf's, was appointed as the creative director of Gucci. And with her, she brought her team as well. She brought Richard Lambertson as design director, Neil Barrett designing menswear, and Tom Ford as the women's ready-to-wear designer. So under Mello's charge, the Gucci loafer was reintroduced in a rainbow of colors to much fanfare. It was definitely a hit, and sadly much of the other designs were not well received. So Mello returned to her cushy role at Bergdorf's in 1994. So Tom Ford has been known as the actual savior of Gucci when he took over as creative director after Mello's departure. And he took a really different approach. He was all about sex appeal, and that really, you couldn't see that anywhere else during this time period. So it was really different and out there. And he was really focused on sex sells with his ads, his clothing. He had like slinky, silky dresses and such. And it was taken really well by the consumers. So he really turned the company into a different direction. So with him, Tom Ford brought along his preferred team, stylist Karine and Mario Testino as the photographer. And they really just like revolutionized how Gucci sold like with their ads and the campaigns. So one of the more famous and scandalous ads that Gucci released under Tom Ford with his whole sex sells was the model who was nearly nude, showing a male model her pubic area, and she had a G shaved into that. So that was like very shocking for that time when no one else was really having ads like that. So they really stood out. So from this time, with Tom Ford taking over and taking Gucci into a new direction, Gucci really increased their sales, and they were a $10 billion company. In 2004, Tom Ford decided to move on after just a tussle with the agency that bought Gucci. So he moved on, and Alessandro took over as creative director, which really seems like a forgotten time in the timeline of Gucci. She only lasted 2 unremarkable seasons before leaving the company in 2005. Frida Giannini stepped in as the creative director, and she has been there since 2002. And she was appointed the director of handbags, and then later on, all of accessories and handbags combined. So she came in and really abandoned all of Ford's like sex sells type of looks for Gucci. And she just went on and really revived a lot of the old classics. So she was constantly reviving like the Gucci Flora scarf, the bamboo bag, the signature bag with the red and green stripe. And she was just adding her own spin on them and reviving them and just kind of refreshing them, but really looking from like the vaults of the past to bring those new products to the market. So there was a little drama around Frida's time at Gucci. In 2011, she disclosed that she had been in a secret 2-year relationship with Gucci's CEO after a lot of pressure and rumors from the media. So that happened, and a couple years later they actually got married and they had a daughter. So her collections were good at first, but then eventually became kind of mundane, and the critics just found them lackluster. So she was laid off, and then a couple days later, Gucci CEO was also laid off. So on to Alessandro Michel. So he was appointed the creative director in 2015, and some people thought of this as a shock and they were surprised, but little did they know he'd been working at Gucci for 12 years. So he was just ready to jump right in and take control as creative director. For his first big move, he actually tossed all of Frida's designs for the menswear collection and redesigned the whole entire collection just 5 days before the runway show. And this was for fall winter of 2015. So he just scrapped it and started over, and it was just amazing how fast he was with that whole process. So that was his first unveiling as new creative director. And then just a month later, his first women's wear collection debuted in Milan, Italy, and it was just a huge success right away. So in the 4 years since stepping up as creative director, Alessandro Michel really has just turned Gucci into a maximalist dream with collections that seem to seep from his imagination onto an intricately designed runway with crystals, ruffles, vibrant color schemes, baby dragons even, and fake heads, plus like endless pop culture references and an understanding of social consciousness. So Michel has really returned Gucci to its it status as it held under Ford. And Alessandro found a way to pay homage to Gucci. In 2018, he created Gucci Garden in Florence, Italy. And this was alongside a restaurant as well for Gucci. And the restaurant is decked out entirely in the brand's wares, and a boutique is a museum that traces Gucci back to the beginning. It's seen through Michel's ornamented lens and curated by Maria Luisa Frisa. So the rich Italian history of the brand melds with the present, offering solid proof that there is plenty more history to be written at Gucci. So I'm very excited to see what Alessandro continues to do as creative director, because he's not slowing down at all. Gucci is still just the it brand out there, and I have high hopes for what he'll continue to do in the future. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope you learned some more history about Gucci, from how it started to where it is today and how it got there. So I hope you found it informative and just took away something new today. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you won't miss another video in the Luxury Authentication series.